Hello and welcome to everybody, my guest today. Alright, this is a special opportunity because I don't have a chance to interview the champ every day, and this Cage Warriors 205-pound champ, Modestas Bukauskas, as the way he likes to say, born in Lithuania, bred in Britain. So, would you like please introduce yourself, talk a bit on your titles, background, and so on?
Right, so as you mentioned, my name is Modestas Bukauskas. I'm the Cage Warriors light heavyweight champion. I started training when I was 5 years old. My dad is my main coach and still is to this day. I started out in kickboxing and sambo. Started competing in kickboxing from a very young age. I won four British kickboxing titles. And then, I actually went to America for 2 years. Had a little break away from training, and then when I came back home when I was 18, got back into MMA, and I've been a pro since I was 21. And now I've got a record of 10-2, and looking for the UFC soon.
Oh, it's great. So, you answered when did you start training MMA, but what was the main reason? Why did you pick MMA? Why not some other martial art?
Well, to be honest, my parents never really. I'd say more. My mum didn't want me to do anything, sort of very violent or anything. She wanted me to try and play a gentleman's sport like tennis or something, or. And I actually played basketball for a little bit, but I mean, my dad, he fought when he was younger, so he had a career. He was the Soviet Union no holds barred champion, so obviously he was experienced in mixed martial arts back when it started up. So really, my dad was teaching it to me just for protection, just to make sure that I wouldn't get into trouble in school and stuff like that. But then shortly after, we realised, I'm getting pretty good at it, and then that's when I started competing in kickboxing. So really, I've got to give most credit to my dad for getting me into it. And then I guess it was just down to me afterwards. I liked it, so I kept doing it.
All right. About your state, I know that basketball is very much popular in Lithuania. I know they had a bit of rivalry with my country and so on. But about MMA, I know that Mario Jaromskis was amazing fighter. But how is MMA? Is it popular in Lithuania, or people are, suspicious and?
Well, from what I know, there are quite a lot of people doing it. Like there are some more Lithuanian fighters, coming up in the ranks. It's not as popular as maybe some other countries. There's not too many Lithuanian fighters on the circuit. But yeah, I mean, obviously you've had Marius Zaromskis, who he done very well in his career and stuff like that. The Lithuanians, I think they do get really behind their fighters. Anytime there's news of anyone doing well in combat sports, they get right behind it. They really support it, and then they write a lot of stuff about it. So they do get behind it, but yeah, I think it's only just starting to pick up in popularity as of late.
Do you have a trademark blow or submission?
Right, I would say from what it seems like, my trademark shot is probably my spinning back kick, because I've knocked out a couple of opponents with that kick or hurt them with that kick. So I'd say that's probably my most devastating strike. And my favorite submission actually has got to be the knee bar. I seem to catch that quite a lot, and that's probably one of my favorite submissions.
You haven't picked a nickname, or I'm wrong?
There's no nickname. I don't know. People have given me suggestions, but there's nothing that sort of flows. I think the best way to get a nickname is to let it come naturally, or to let people call you a certain something, like a lot of people in a row. So I haven't had that yet. Maybe something will come up, but as of yet, I haven't got anything.
So, you say your fighting style is pretty much based on striking, right?
Yeah.
It's definitely striking. So, can you take a look at your first fight versus Arvidas Juska, I guess? How was your first fight? Can you talk a bit on it? I mean, the first time, never forget, right?
Yeah, it was probably my toughest fight. I mean, don't get me wrong, my last couple of fights were pretty tough as well, but that is one where distinctly I remember it was the hardest fight, just because the guy was so damn tough. He was definitely one of the toughest fighters I've faced, because he took some shots to the face. and I was like, how the hell is this guy still standing? Obviously, I was very young. I was 21 when I had my pro debut, but it was literally just a striking battle. From start to finish, he was a very high level striker, and so was I. So it made for quite an entertaining fight. Actually in the third round, my dad encouraged me to take him down, but yeah, by that point, my legs were absolutely gone. I remember he must have kicked my leg more than 20 times because it was probably about the size of a watermelon by the end of that fight. That one, I had to really dig deep. Everyone was telling me, oh, this is a bit too difficult of a fight to take as your pro debut and stuff like that. But, my dad believed in me and my team believed in me. And obviously, I believed in myself. And then, we got the job done. But, yeah, I was in the hospital overnight. Because they couldn't get my blood pressure. I think my blood pressure was too low. They couldn't get it back up. They had to put me on 3 IVs. And yeah, like I said, my leg probably swelled up to the size of a watermelon. So a very memorable fight. I did come out with a win, but it was definitely the one where I had to overcome the most adversity.
Since 2015 was the awesome year for you, 3 stoppages in a row, and especially the one stoppage that I like the most is the one versus Dave Rintoul. I put it on my channel. So yeah, how did you roll into that stoppage against Dave Rintoul? Let's be honest, it didn't look like you're rocking him all the time. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah. I feel like that was probably not one of my best performances, and that's just speaking honestly. Obviously, I wanted to land more damage. I knew that most of the guys wanted to grapple with me, and he was one of them. He had me caught in a guillotine. I think I remember I'd reversed him or something, and then he managed to try and lock off a guillotine. I'd worked obviously my escapes and stuff, so he done a good job and everything. I decided to then keep it a bit more, in close range with the grappling afterwards, and then take him down. I knew my ground and pound was good, and that's what eventually finished the fight. But yeah, I felt at that point I was still trying to find myself in the cage. I was still trying to bring out more of my game. That was at the time when I was still trying to build up my confidence, still trying to get my game plans together. And Dave Rintoul's an amazing fighter. He done a very good job still in that fight. But yeah, obviously I felt I could have done better, but I still got the win. So regardless, it still went my way. So for that, obviously, I'm glad.
About Pavel Dorofte, this is the fastest defeat of your career. Did he take you down instantly, or what happened? I mean, heel hook can be done in many ways, and
yeah. So basically, at that point, I felt, and yeah, a lot of people criticised me for taking that fight again so early. But again, I at that point, I just finished training in Albuquerque with Jackson's, and I was sparring, with John Jones for 10 weeks. Me and him were training quite closely. So, obviously I felt that skill set wise, I should have, I should have been ready to go. But I think mentally I wasn't ready to go in that fight. I think mentally the pressure got to me a bit too much. And I didn't actually let any of my skills out at all. Yeah. So we ended up exchanging a couple of strikes. And obviously it was his goal to try and get me down straight away. But yeah, he pushed me up against the cage and it seemed like he used a very sort of old style Sambo sort of, at least in my opinion, old style type wrestling.
yes,
Because he tripped me to get me down, and then straight away, as soon as I got on the floor, I was then thinking, oh, I'm going to try and get back up to my feet. But I left my legs hanging out there, and he literally, I don't think it was a heel hook. I think it was more of an ankle lock, but again, a very old style type technique where I hadn't really seen that before. I went over other escapes and defenses for other leg locks, but with that one in particular, I hadn't. So yeah, he got me caught in it, and it was tight from the beginning. And because we were right up against the cage, I had nowhere to go. So yeah, credit to Pavel. He obviously he took advantage of that situation and won the fight.
you have only one TKO loss. This is John Redmond, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the only TKO loss of your career. Was this a striking exchange, or he just took you down? And
so it was. He caught me with a right hand. So at the beginning of the fight, I was landing quite a lot of shots. I landed a spinning back kick on him. I was starting to feel then, my distancing, my range to catch shots on him, because I remember even some of my friends who came to watch the fight, they said that some of the shots that we were landing were like very heavy. Like you could hear the echoing in the hall that it was in. And yeah, I was just starting to feel like I was landing more and more shots. And then, as I went forward, as I was trying to press forward, he literally just threw a right hand out. I didn't even see it coming. Threw a right hand out of nowhere, caught me right in the chin. And I don't know how the hell I was still awake, because that shot was powerful. And then, as I was sort of just starting to gain my consciousness, like my vision again, he landed to a couple of strikes as I was on the floor, and then finished the fight. So, I got caught. What can I say? It happens, but I'm glad it happened earlier on in my career, so that I could, learn from it and get better.
Well, this is a great sentence by you, because Gilbert Burns keeps saying the same thing. I learn from every defeat. He even said it last night on Polaris event. And
Yeah.
this is great, because that type of MMA fighters are the best MMA fighters, definitely. About your rear naked choke against Pella de Tolla, I just want to ask you one thing. You did a rear naked choke, but you didn't lock the body triangle, if you know what I mean. You didn't do this. You didn't do this. It was just hand. Position was great. Why didn't you wrap your legs? Were you going just on your arms, or?
Because I had a very, to be honest, in that position, I find it quite hard personally to get body lock triangles against guys who are a little bit bigger. So
Yes.
Pellu had quite a wide body on him, so I couldn't actually get like a bit higher on his body. And when I got the second hook in, right before we fell on my back, my legs were quite tight on his body, and he had nowhere to move. So there wasn't really any need for me to really lock my legs around his body at that point. And because I had my arm right underneath his neck, he was trying to obviously push his chin down and defend. I had I had like a gable grip on his neck, and I could hear he was struggling with it. But then I wanted to get a little bit tighter, so instead of having that grip, I tried to change to a conventional sort of rear naked choke grip. And yeah, on the video it looked like I was holding it, but I wasn't holding the cage. I was just trying to get my hand over to the other side so I could finish the choke. But obviously, as the choke went longer, it just got deeper and deeper, and then he ended up tapping.
Did the referee warn you for that cage? Because to me it didn't look like you were holding, it looked like you were pushing.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I can understand, obviously, maybe from his perspective, it looked like I was trying to grab the cage, but again, I wouldn't see how that would help my choke at all. I was literally trying to just get my hand through, and obviously if you're pushing your hands like this way, it's going to look like your fingers are trying to go into the cage. But that was not my intention. I was literally just trying to get my hand across, again, just to finish the conventional rear naked choke.
The reason why I'm asking you this, because Chaim Ghazali did the same thing. Not versus Arthur Prongin, the fight before Arthur Prongin. He did this, and the referee was just showed him like this, like, no, don't do that. And
right.
Yeah, probably he was thinking the same, and
Yeah. Because again, it's difficult when you're right up against the cage. Like your hands have nowhere else to go, really. I mean, especially if I'm trying to get that particular grip. So obviously it's a difficult one. But fair play to Mark. Obviously, he's a great referee. So he's got to do what he's got to do, doesn't he?
Against Christian Leipzig, rear naked choke. Yeah, the position of your left forearm was great, but you caught him rolling. How did you do that? It's a very, very rear naked choke when he rolls. You caught him rolling, and
Yeah. To be honest, I personally don't think I was as technically sound in finishing that rear naked choke. Obviously, I wanted to land the strikes, and he rolled into it, so I just had to dig my arm through deep straight away as he was rolling in order to obviously execute the move. I felt like my top pressure was good when I was landing my strikes on him, and then obviously when I got to mount, he turned onto his front. But yeah, I felt like I could have been a little bit more technically sound. I had it quite tight anyways whenever I started sinking it in. But yeah, obviously those are things that, again, like I say, you watch and you learn. So now I would probably handle that situation a little bit more differently. I'd probably either try and flatten him out or land a couple more strikes before I got the arm in. So yeah, I guess you could say that was quite a spontaneous move on my end at that point in my career.
Against Dan Konecki, it was a one-sided blowout, no doubt. But were people attacking you that you were landing shots to the back of his head?
Yeah, I can listen. When you're in the fight,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to land strikes, and obviously he's trying to. I'm
He
trying
was
to get
rolling.
him. Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to get shots to to where I can see their head is open, and obviously if he's holding his head and like turning his head this way, unfortunately, yeah, I think I may have caught one or two shots to the back of his head, but most of them, if you look in the video, I was actually catching him to the side of his head,
Yes,
where we saw that it was legal. But obviously, it's difficult in that position. I'm lucky that again, my coaches, my dad, Danny Batten, Dennison, they all helped me a lot for that fight to help me to neutralize the position. Because when I got on top of him and I started landing the strikes, and I was able to land quite a lot of clean strikes, even just the control from the back. We had practiced that again, pretty much for a couple of weeks before the fight. Again, not knowing that would happen, but obviously we were ready if that was going to occur, because he actually tried to roll for some leg locks, but I had a good control on his body, so I was able to neutralize him in that position. So yeah, a couple of shots I think may have landed to the back of the head, but the majority landed to the sides and to the correct target areas. So at that point, really, he was just defending. So there was nothing else the referee could do but step in.
Yeah, I understand, but from my way of view, it looks like he was rolling, and you can't control your punches when someone rolls. It's the other thing when he does this. It's intentional, but when he does this all the time, it's impossible to control the punch. I mean.
Yeah, because you're aiming for that particular spot, but then obviously if his head's moving into shot as you're throwing it, yeah, like you said, it's hard to really control exactly where it lands. But like I said, I was trying to make sure that I was hitting like directly to the side as much as I could, anyways.
Against Marcin Wojcik, that your spinning back kick, I think he was out after spinning back kick. I think those blows, there were 3 or 4 blows, but I think he was out after spinning back kick. Was he out or not?
Yeah, I believe that I didn't. If I had not thrown those shots, he still would have went down, because I remember I had a kickboxing fight earlier on. I think it was maybe a year or two ago. It was just my first pro kickboxing fight, just because I wasn't getting any MMA fights, so I just took a kickboxing fight instead, and I landed the exact same shot again with the exact same precision from that fight on Wojciech. So I believe that, and listen, when you get hit to the liver, it's not a nice feeling whatsoever. Your body crumbles up and you can't control it. It takes the wind out of you. So obviously, in that position, yeah, I just landed the strikes just because, listen, it's in a fight. The guy's not going down like straight away. I just wanted to go and try and finish it as quick as I could. Obviously, at that point when I saw that he was hurt, but yeah, that spinning back kick definitely hurt him. I've seen that. He fought Scott Askham at one point, and he also caught him with a liver shot. So, me and my dad were working on shots to the body, and that's why the target of the shot actually landed so well, because me and my dad had drilled it so many times. But yeah, Marcin Wojcik, he's a very tough fighter, a very good fighter. So for him even to take that shot still, and still be standing after that, you got to give him credit.
All right. You probably don't know, but I'm a Taekwondo black belt. I train kickboxing for a long time. And I want to ask you one thing. Who learned you Taekwondo version of spinning back kick? It's Taekwondo version, not kickboxing version.
Yeah, my dad actually taught me everything, really. He started actually doing karate, so he's got a black belt in karate. So, with his techniques, I believe my dad teaches it a little bit. He's got like a little bit of a mix of styles. But the way we like to do it is we like to go from underneath and come up, because I'm not sure, there's some styles where it goes from the side, like specifically from the side. But that's where, if you've got quite a lot, that's only if you've got quite a lot of space. But from here, like the proximity between me and my opponent was quite short. This is what we've been working on quite a lot, is to make sure that we can still land that shot, even if the guy is only maybe half a body's distance, like very small distance away from each other. So I've got to give credit to Dad, obviously teaching me that way. I'm not 100% sure in terms of the styles and the techniques and stuff like that, but like I say, I've been taught to bring it from down and up and into your opponent, as opposed to coming from the side where potentially they could go around it, or they could catch your leg.
Yeah, absolutely, and I got to credit you for this because the trajectory of your leg was next to your standing leg, which is also a great clinching technique. It's a short technique, but very much good for clinching, and it can seriously hurt the opponent, especially at the cage. Yeah, very, very seriously. So, is Martin Hamlet Nielsen the toughest guy you faced? I think you fought for 4 rounds, right?
Yes, yeah, we did. I believe he was the toughest wrestler, and he was a very, 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 very tough fight because, as I say, I caught him with quite a couple of shots there, and he was able to weather. I mean, listen, I weathered his storm at the beginning, but he also weathered a bit of a storm from me in terms of striking. I would say, obviously, my debut was probably my toughest in terms of adversity, to where by the second round I could barely walk on my left leg, so I had to go through a bit there. So I would say, obviously, it'll be between my debut and obviously the Hamlet fight, because in the Hamlet fight, the guy kept coming. Obviously we had expected that he would gas a little bit earlier, but he did very well to try and control the cage and hang in there, and use his wrestling, which he done. So it was a tough fight strategically, I would say, more than physically, because obviously we had to make sure that he didn't get any dominant positions, or he didn't get me down. And look, he still managed to get me down 3 times, I believe, in that fight. But we had been working extensively on getting back up to our feet and like I say, making sure he doesn't get into too much of a bad spot. But you could see when I was getting out of his most dangerous spots, where he usually finishes people, where he usually does very well against people, that's when he started maybe to fade in that fight. That's why already by the 4th round, I knew it was going to be mine, because the 4th round, I think it was only me that really landed any shots. And then obviously I was just getting my distance ready to land that right hand behind it. So Martin Hamlet is definitely a very tough opponent. I've got to give him credit, man, because I know that in his career he's going to be very good. So
Against Ricardo Noziglia, your last battle. All right, you finished it pretty much quickly. Who earned you Travis Brown elbows?
It's funny, they actually compared. They compared my shots to Travis Brown elbows, and I think even Conor McGregor, when he had a knockout in Cage Warriors with the same elbows. Weirdly enough, we actually had like a rules meeting beforehand, and again, it's all weird how everything sort of, the puzzles fit together like nicely. We were in the change room, and they were just explaining about the new rule about a grounded opponent. So you can either have a fist on the floor, one hand on the floor. And that's a grounded opponent, whereas before you had to put 2 hands, so now they've changed the rule again. So he was going over that, and then he goes, is there anything else you want to go over? And I was like, all right, tell me where the back of the head is, because different people have different things, and then tell me that the strip around the back, and if you're behind the ear is illegal, but as long as you're on top of the ear to the side of the head, you're absolutely fine. So it was weird how, and even we were talking about those sort of shots, and I remember drilling it specifically with my dad, like maybe 2 or 3 weeks out from the fight, just the placement of the shots. And it's crazy how all of that sort of fitted into play in the fight. Again, I feel like in every fight, everything that I'd done in training had come out then in the fight. I would have preferred to finish the fight maybe a different way. I'd visualize myself trying to finish it by head kick, just because there's particular shots that I throw that I know that are not easily defended. So that's what I was going for. But then, I saw the spot when we were in that position. And again, I just went back to whenever I was drilling it with my dad in training, and I saw the ear was right there, and I could see that the flesh on top of the ear, and I was literally, and I had Leon Roberts right there, and I hit maybe 2 shots, and then Leon Robert goes, just watch the back of the head. I hit another one, then he goes, you're good. And as soon as he said I'm good, I just kept going, and then obviously then the finish managed to happen.
This bout kind of remind me on the bout between Gabriel Gonzaga and Travis Brown. Pretty much really the same the way to finish the fight. But yeah, it was completely legal. 100% legal strikes.
Mm-hmm.
So the next for you, you'd like to get a UFC shot or... Yeah, I think I don't remember if a Lithuanian guy competed in the UFC. I don't remember. I don't think ever Lithuanian guy competed. Was it?
Yeah, I think if if I got signed, I would be the first Lithuanian-born athlete ever signed to the UFC. So obviously, it would be quite a big thing to me to go down in history. To be able to put in the books to be the first guy to do it. So yeah, that's obviously what we're aiming for.
Yeah, that's great. Actually, you would be the first guy from Lithuania. I'm actually a big top list nerd, and I pretty much follow guys and so on. But I don't remember a Lithuanian guy in the UFC, and I watched the sport for more than 20 years, and literally I don't remember. You would be the first one.
Yeah, hopefully we can. We can put that down there, like I said, in the history books. So yeah, it's just a case of waiting and seeing what happens, really.
Well, I hope you'll write the history. Would you like to add something else, or?
Nah, man. Obviously, I just want to, got to thank all my coaches and everything like that. Got to thank all my sponsors. They're all up on my Instagram page. I've got to give a massive shout out, really, to my physio, because Leanne at Distinct Physiotherapy. She, not many people know. I didn't tell anyone, obviously, because I didn't want anything to leak out about it. But I dislocated my knee 3 weeks prior to the fight. It's funny because I actually watched the podcast with Joe Rogan and Faraz Sahabi, and they revealed that Kevin Lee had gone into his fight with a bad ankle, and he actually ended up knocking the guy out with the bad ankle. So for me, it was a case of, I dislocated my knee, and I felt my knee, leading up to the fight from that 3 weeks, it was kept on coming out of place. Only just now it's starting to, it feels solid, like I don't feel any problems. But, the whole time leading up to that, I had to take physio very seriously. I had to change my way of training. I had to drill more. I couldn't do the sparring and stuff like that. So, I was actually very thankful for the injury because it made me have to get my technique a little bit more solid and work on different things. So yeah, I've got to thank my physio because if it wasn't, I literally injured it the day on the Friday, and she saw me the next morning. So she's gone out of her way to help me, and so I've got to give her a lot of credit for that one as well. But yeah, there's been so many people that helped me out. Everyone knows who they are. But listen, I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for everyone. So thank you everyone for helping me out.
Thank you so much for the interview, and I hope we will talk again next time when you sign the UFC contract, or after one victory, or we'll see. But I hope we'll hear each other again. We'll talk again, and I'm pretty much glad you accepted the interview. So go for it, champ. See you all next time.
Thank you very much, man, and I really appreciate you having me on the podcast and everything, man. I appreciate that.